Welcome to Town Talk, the official podcast of the town of Stephenville, where community conversations happen. I'm Marilee Joy Castillo, Communications Manager at the town. This podcast takes place in the chamber of Town Hall, where we share updates, ideas, and information about what's happening in our community. Joining me today is Gerard Power, candidate running for the mayor in the upcoming municipal election. So, Gerard, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Gerard, I guess just to start things off, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Gerard Power. I'm a journeyman plumber and journeyman pipe fitter. I grew up on Colonial Street in Stephenville, born in 1958. Went to St. Stephen's, finished that, went to Fisheries College, worked construction for the last 50 years, I guess. So, been a resident of the town for out than 57 years, about 47 years,
Awesome.
46, 47 years.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Yeah. Anything else?
No.
Okay.
I think,
Perfect. I just want to start off to kind of ask you, what made you decide to run for mayor for the town of Stephenville?
One of the main things I think was, I think change is good. Every now and then you need change. And when I heard the slate of candidates that was running, nothing against the candidates, but I just decided that maybe the people might want another choice because it tended to be the same candidates that we've had now for the last 12, 15 years. So I decided maybe they would like a change. And I said, well, why not?
Why not give it a try?
Why not give it a try?
Well, Gerard, if you're elected, what are your priorities for the town?
Well, some of the main priorities, I think, has to do with my years of doing maintenance and stuff around the buildings around it for the town and for the area, is infrastructure. We've installed generators at the wells, one. I've been at the fire department when 8 o'clock in the evening, putting the garage door back together again because the fire truck hit it because the building is not big enough for the fire trucks. So it's a lot of things is definitely a new fire department. It was talked about 5 or 6 years ago that they were going to look to getting one built. And then, of course, Mr. Diamond come on scene and everything got put to the wayside. So I think it's about time to look at that again. The emergency preparedness in town, I don't think we have the facilities right now as for what I call emergency power backup. I know there's a turbine out Port Harmon that Hydro has to provide emergency power that hasn't run consistently since it's been put there. I know they've done a lot of work on it. I still don't know what the status of that one is. But that being said, we need places where people can get food, places where people can stay that has heat, places where we have to keep our water running. And this all requires emergency generation. And because the biggest fear I have here is with the new power system from the Churchill Falls is an ice storm or something on some of these power lines. We get our power knocked out for 2-3 weeks. What do you do? Because the other thing I told a friend of mine the other day, we talked about emergency power for trying to decide, where would be a good place to be. And then I asked, well, what about fuel? There's no gas stations here with emergency power. Everybody in town can have their generators, but if you can't get gas, it's not much good to you. So all of these things kind of accumulated into what I'd like to see done. That. And other than that is just back to the basics of looking after what you need to look after in the town.
Right. So what are some of the things that you would like to see happen in the next 4 years if you're accepted as mayor and voted in as mayor of the town of Stephenville?
In the next 4 years, depending on finances, I'd like to see a generator at our Coronation building, pump house, transfer switch. I'd like to see, if any way possible, investing into a filtering system for remove the manganese out of the water. We need our pump houses need emergency transfer switches and plug-ins so that if you lose power, you can drive up with a portable generator, plug it in, get it going again. I mean, these are a few things. The other thing is to utilize, to look into what kind of financing is available for a new fire department. Either you can use some existing building or something that we have that's big enough. I'm not sure what the town is in ownership of right now. And along with that is primarily setting up the works department. Their garage is getting pretty dilapidated now and is not hardly big enough for the equipment that they have. We have equipment stored outside, and if anybody owns a vehicle of any age knows that sunlight deteriorates everything. Mm-hmm. And all the equipment every year is the same thing, of taking it in and trying to get it going again. I mean, there got to be another solution rather than spending money on this stuff. But in the next 4 years, some of these issues addressed. I know there's a lot more out there, but personally, these are some of the ones that come to mind that I've been around. Let's say.
Excellent. And how do you think you could help in making council's decisions more open and transparent to residents?
Well, the mayor is only the chairman of the meetings. He has no other rights than any council member. He can call a meeting, he can sign checks. But as mayor, all ideas brought to council from the mayor or from any councilors all get the same weight. And it's up to the council to decide whether that happens or doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, and let people know in the meetings and that this is what a council is for. Also, that every councilor must remember the money they're playing with is the people of the town, is the taxpayer's money. We're getting the money to provide services for the people of the town. And that money has to be spent in the most economical way it can be for the services for the people in the town. So every project has to be weighed with that in mind. What is the best benefit we can get for $1?
Excellent. And I know that you've touched on some of your experience in your preamble at the beginning, but what qualities or experiences do you feel that you have that you can bring to the town that would make you the best candidate for mayor?
Well, I have no business interests in the town, for one thing. I can't say that. My wife has a barbershop. That's the only business interest in the town. Mm-hmm. I do not have so I'm not here, or everything has to be done for the people. And I don't believe in personal agendas in council. If something comes up personal agenda, sorry, you leave. We will not discuss it, because council has to be bipartisan. They can't
be involved with a conflict of interest.
No, they cannot be involved with conflict of interest.
Excellent. So I know that one of the things that we've been seeing in the town, in the province, in the country is problems with housing. How do you intend to address housing availability and affordability here in Stephenville?
Well, I don't know if, towns don't normally get into building houses. The only maybe solution, if town has land that can be put aside for a developer, but for a developer that's going to not build $500,000 mansions. For the developers that's going to build, may have to get back to the 80s idea of a house 26 by 40 with 3 bedrooms is big enough. And you can start from there. If later on you decide, but if you want to upgrade, that's your choice. But most affordability is from the fact of all developers build, and they have to build to make the most money they can for their investment. and they tend to build houses that are way above what I'd say the average, like, Joe Blow can do. Or they can go back to the old Newfoundland housing program of back in the 80s, where they built a house. You paid 25% of your income towards the mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And after 20 years, after it was paid off, you own the home, which was one of the things that come back out in the 80s. But for household affordability in town, some are affordable. Only the older homes tend to be affordable. But unfortunately, a lot of the skills that myself and a lot of my age had learned as young people don't have anymore to be able to do the work that they need to do. So it got to go back to, if you can set up a block of land and have a developer and say, listen, can you build homes that are affordable, that people can buy? Because I don't think it'd be right for the town to get into building homes and developing that. The best we can do is probably provide land or something to do that.
Okay. And what role do you think that the town should be playing in supporting things like healthcare, education? I know you already touched on a bit early, the emergency preparedness. What role do you think the town should be playing in these things?
Well, as for healthcare, I think there definitely needs to, although it's totally a provincial entity, we have no say, but we can probably put pressure on the MHAs and what have you to retain doctors here and things like that there. You know what I mean? I don't know. I know the town did have a program of paying people or whatever with bonuses and that to stay and what have you. You know, I mean, there may be something in that area, but I don't think from what I've heard, it doesn't seem like it works all that well. You know what I mean? So I don't know. What other than healthcare, other than fresh from the provincial government or the MHA to ensure that we still maintain our healthcare. And as for education, well, I think we're doing fairly good with schools and that here in our area. I don't think nothing is over full. And then again, that all comes down to also to the provincial entity,
right,
of what they decide that they're doing. Town can provide the crosswalks, stoplights to make the safe for the children to go back and forth to school, and things like that there. But I don't know how involved we can get into the school system.
Yep. Okay. Do you see opportunities for more regional collaboration with surrounding communities throughout the Bay St. George region?
Oh, yes. There's lots in tourism, in fire protection, you know what I mean, in sports, Kipple's got a baseball field, you know what I mean, or we got a baseball field. You don't need to build one. There's in all that aspects, you know what I mean, but I believe everybody has to have equal pay into it, you know what I mean, and whether it be on the per number of people in your community based on as set up a pay scheme or something, you know what I mean. I firm believer in that with the stadium, with the swimming pool, with stuff, which even though they're a town of Stevens assets, they are a regional thing. And I don't think all the taxpayers of Stevens should foot the bill for the operation and upkeep of these buildings, since this is a regional thing. You know what I mean? But that being said, in no cooperation, if you have something, if another community has something that we can use, well, we'll help pay them as well, rather than foot the cost of building another one.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're only a town of 6,500 people, not like the 8,000 or 10,000 used to be.
Yeah, okay. What do you think some of your plans might be for community development, economic development, municipal infrastructure?
Municipal infrastructure, other than the replacing some of the old water and sewer systems and upgrading some of the roads, that'll be ongoing, I guess, forever. I don't know. But to entice people in here, you know what I mean, we have one I'd say the fish hatchery is probably our largest employer right now in the town, other than government. That brings in new money, other than government's recirculated tax money. So other things, there's nothing on the outlook right now, I don't think. But the tourism industry, and as much as I've said, and I'll be in, I got to correct myself from years ago. Years ago, I always thought tourism, well, look at all the other countries. You go tourism, look, all the people are living. There's the poorest people, there's low wages, there's no. But that being said, in this day and age, I look, and and I wasn't looking at the time as the what it brought into the businesses and everything in the community. So today, tourism is what tourism for Stephenville, for instance, as a main thing. Stephenville only has the fossil bed, which needs to be desperately upgraded and looked after. And other than that, in Stephenville directly, but Stephenville is the hub for the whole area. So any promotion of the area, be it down to Cape St. George, be it down anywhere, is beneficial to the town of Stephenville. It doesn't have to be like one place, what do you call it, agrarium. It's up by Bottom Brook substation, and not very many people even knows about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was put there by the government back in the 70s, of trees from all over the world and trails going through it with labels on each tree as where it was from and what species it was.
Really?
With walking trail. And nobody knows about it. It's getting dilapidated now. Someone was looking after it because it had a entrance sign over top of it, an archway to the little bridge going to the trails going through the woods. And I haven't been up there this year, but it's something that's another one of these things that's not promoted.
Mm-hmm.
Hiking trails to the top of Steel Mountain out in Flat Bay Brook. There's all kinds of things here that can be, but I was thinking about it first but Stephenville has to promote it. Stephenville is the biggest beneficiary of tourism in the area. So, let's get as much out of it as what we can. One of the other things was, you go to Gambo, they got Joey's Lookout. You pull off on the side of the road and you look over the area. You go up to Corner Brook, coming up over the hill, you got to pull off, look over the city and stuff. You're coming from, once you hit Flat Bay Hills, you can see all over Bay St. George.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no place for anybody to pull off and have a look and put up some signs and say, this is what we have, this is what we can do, you know what I mean? So there's a whole lot of work, I think, in that area. But as for industrial, I hate to talk about the airport, but we got to look at that as not being there right now. Whatever happens, happens. We have no control over it, and sorry, but that's the way I guess it is. So for years, the backbone of selling the Stephenville, or trying to sell it, was the airport. Was our airport and our port. But we still do have a port, and it's still still owned, well, not owned by the town or anything, but at least we still have a port that we can somewhat promote.
Yeah.
And other than that, for industry here, we got to sell our port because we could not, we can't sell the airport anymore. And we got people. So.
Okay, fair enough. And I know I just got one final question here for you, but it is a big one. I just want to ask you, what message would you like to share directly with the people of Stephenville about why they should vote for you as mayor for the town of Stephenville?
Well, I think honesty and transparency. And I think that, to me, I don't say I'm going to be the best candidate or the most business savvy or anything like that there, but I'll be the most honest with you. And I know that things has to be done. I know that we can't lose money. We have to maintain fiscal responsibility with our finances and do what we can. And plus, councillors will always have their say, and the office will be run by the town manager. And that's all I can say. I can, you know what I mean? But all I can do is try to do my best. And I'm like, I got a plumbing background, and in plumbing, nobody ever sees your work. Because when they build a house or build a building, it's all buried.
It's all hidden.
The only time you hear any grief is when things don't work. And I hope I'm not on the end where things don't work.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your honesty, Gerard, and for coming in here today and sharing your thoughts with some very important questions. And I think it's great that you offered up your time today and gave answers to important questions that I know residents are asking and want to know about their candidates. And we certainly wish you the best of luck in the upcoming municipal election where you are running as mayor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So this concludes this episode of Town Talk. Thank you very much to Gerard Power, who is a candidate running for mayor in the upcoming municipal election, for joining us here in the chamber. And stay tuned for another edition of Town Talk.